First of all, I want to say good morning, good afternoon. I would like just to take a moment to acknowledge my friend, former colleague, the passing of Tony Barksdale. He'll be a missed partner. I've known him for a long time. He was a very good friend, colleague. Also, we've been very blessed to have historic drops in violent crime. Without a doubt, we would not be where we are without the hard work, the leadership, and the friendship of Deputy Commissioner Barksdale. With that, I want to talk about another officer. Barksdale's a former officer. I'd like to talk about Officer Robert A. Parks. I'm joined by today the head of my Public Trust and Police Integrity Unit, Steve Trussell. And I'm also joined by one of my deputies, Catherine Flynn. We're here to announce the indictment of Baltimore Police Officer Robert A. Parks on the charges of second-degree attempt murder, first-degree assault, second-degree assault, reckless driving, and misconduct in office. If found guilty of all charges, Officer Parks faces a maximum sentence of 65 years of incarceration. There is no maximum penalty for misconduct in office. However, before I get to the details of this case, please let me remind you, as well as everybody in the community, that an indictment is not a finding of guilt. An individual charged by indictment is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty by trial. Once again, innocent until proven guilty. The charges brought forward in this indictment reflect the seriousness and dangerous nature of the actions we all witnessed in the viral video of Officer Parks driving his vehicle directly at a civilian while on duty. These are the exact charges we would bring forward for anyone operating a vehicle in that manner, whether you're police or whether you're a civilian. When a police officer threatens the safety of those who are sworn to protect, it erodes the crucial trust between the community and law enforcement that is critical to the historic reductions of violent crime in our city and essential to keeping Baltimore safe. The indictment alleges that on October 28, 2025, at approximately 5 p.m., Officer Robert Parks drove to Wiley Liquors Bar, located at 3101 Wiley Avenue in Baltimore City, state of Maryland, while several individuals were standing on the sidewalk. Officer Parks then exited his vehicle and approached the civilians. He stated, "It's getting a little hot, guys. I just need you guys to take a lap, In response, one of the individuals began to walk away. As the other individuals walked away, Officer Parks got back into his patrol vehicle and drove a brief distance westbound on Wiley Avenue, stopping along the curb to the right of the first person who had left the liquor store corner. Officer Parks called the individual by name to come over, then got out of his vehicle again. He stated, "Don't make it worse. I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm going to be straight up. You got to come." Officer Parks motioned his index finger to indicate that the individual should walk towards him. The individual said no, turned, and walked away. As the person walked away, Officer Parks yelled out again, "All right, I'm going to call the dogs and come get you." As the person was walking away on a paved driveway, Officer Parks returned to the vehicle, his patrol vehicle, and stated over the radio, "I have one running, adult male, in the alley." Officer Parks proceeded to drive his police cruiser onto a paved driveway directly at the individual and with increasing speed. The person ran to his left into a grassy area to avoid being struck. Officer Parks steered his police vehicle directly at the man and struck him in the grassy area. After being hit, the man ran away from the patrol car and then towards Wiley Avenue. Officer Parks continued to drive at the man, who then ran onto the sidewalk and between a utility pole and a fence. Officer Parks then drove his vehicle onto the sidewalk and between the utility pole and fence directly at the man. The individual then ran towards an alleyway behind residences and businesses. Officer Parks made a U-turn and drove down the same alley, plowing through a stationary chain-link fence and into the backyard of 3129 Sumter Avenue, nearly striking the man and causing him to jump over a fence to avoid being hit. Let me be clear. The actions we saw in the video of Officer Parks are entirely unacceptable. They are also not the actions that the majority of the police force, the Baltimore City Police Force, would ever consider doing. This officer is not an accurate representation of the men and women of the Baltimore City Police Department. I think it's also important for us to try to explain to the public how do we come about our decision to charge this officer, and understanding some of the mystery that people feel sometimes the law is different for the police as well as the community, the general public. The Baltimore Police Department's Internal Rule 1503, Emergency Vehicle Operation and Pursuit, along with Rule 1115, Use of Force, and relevant part combine to prevent this type of pursuit and use of force. Namely, first we have to look at the policy. The purpose of this policy is to provide guidance on conducting safe emergency vehicle operations and pursuits. Members shall use sound judgment and discretion while upholding the sanctity of human life in all instances of emergency response and pursuit. While members must at all times comply with the minimum legal requirements governing the use of force, they must also comply with even stricter standards set forth by the departmental policy. Core principles: member and public safety. Members shall operate all vehicles with the utmost care and caution and will comply with all traffic regulations. While operating emergency response mode, members shall comply with Maryland state law governing emergency vehicle operations. Members shall weigh the risk of driving in emergency response mode against the nature of the emergency. What about the sanctity of life, human life? Sanctity of human life. Members shall make every effort to preserve human life in all situations. Value and worth of all persons. All human beings have equal value and worth, and members shall respect and uphold the value and dignity of all persons at all times. Peaceful resolution. Members shall avoid the use of force unless it is not possible to do so. De-escalation. Members shall use de-escalation techniques and tactics to reduce any threat or gain compliance of lawful commands without the use of force or with the lowest level of force possible. See Policy 1107, De-escalation. Avoiding escalation. Members shall not do or say anything that escalates an encounter unless necessary to achieve a lawful purpose. Assessment. Members shall continuously assess each situation and change the member's response to the circumstance as they change. Members may be justified in using force in one instance, but not justified in using force in an instance later. This duty is to assess includes continuous assessment of circumstances before and after the member uses force. Use of force. Reasonable, necessary, and proportional. Members shall use only the force reasonable, necessary, and proportional to respond to the threat of resistance to effectively and safely resolve an incident, and will immediately reduce the level of force as the threat or resistance diminishes. Accountability. Members shall be held accountable for use of force that violates law or policy. Sound judgment, discretion. The BPD recognizes it is better to allow a suspect to temporarily escape apprehension than to jeopardize anyone's safety in a vehicle pursuit. No member shall be criticized or disciplined for a decision not to engage in a vehicle pursuit or terminate an ongoing vehicle pursuit based on the risk involved, even in circumstances where this policy would permit the commencement or continuation of a pursuit. Retaliatory force. Members are prohibited from using force against persons engaged in First Amendment protected activities or to punish persons for fleeing, resisting arrest, or assaulting a member of or for any punitive reason. Policies 1503 and 1115 both also identify the use of deadly force expressly prohibit the use of deadly force unless it's the last resort, the officer has exhausted de-escalation and less lethal force efforts, when the officer reasonably believes such action is immediately necessary to protect a member or another person from an immediate threat or death of serious physical injury. The use of a motor vehicle in this manner constitutes deadly force. By definition under policies 1503 and 1115, Officer Parks violated policies 1503 and 1115 in his use of the motor vehicle as a weapon to strike Mr. Smith. Upon viewing this video, my office conducted a review and immediately informed prosecutors in our office not to call Officer Parks as a witness in their cases and to reevaluate any cases in which he is a key witness. As this is an open and pending investigation, I am limited to what I can say. However, I will now address any questions that I can ethically answer.
All right, who's first? Ms. Delson?
Is Officer Parks in custody, and could you tell us a little bit about he's been arrested, etc.?
Yeah, my understanding is that Officer Parks turned himself into custody today, this morning.
Bill?
State's Attorney,
Yes.
when the police commissioner said, when he talked to him about this a few weeks ago, he said that when he first saw the video, he thought it was AI. Judge Berdar said that same morning that he was very disturbed when he saw the viral video. When you first saw the video, what did you think?
This fool done lost his mind. To be honest, I mean, look, one of the things to me is that we've come a long ways as a city and with the Baltimore City Police Department. We see a lot of video, and I hate to be like this, so sometimes policing can be extremely ugly, and we see that. And good officers make mistakes, and those mistakes aren't things we charge on. And that's why I read the law. But sometimes you see something to you that's just so egregious that you cannot understand how an individual would have placed himself in that position at that moment in time. Once again, that was just my personal interpretation of the video. Now, the video, I'm sure, and Officer Parks has a right to a fair trial, and if he just takes a jury trial, members of the jury will sit down, they'll give their interpretation, their view of the video. But just as a regular citizen, the first thing that I saw, you see a video of an officer chasing a person. And one of the things that also, we've been able to do is I want to thank Mr. Trussell and his team. They went out to scene, and they were able to even secure additional video that the public has not had the opportunity to see yet. And some of that video, looking at it even, let's just say it was disturbing to me. And, from our point of view, this incident, there were 3 separate incidents within this process, and every single one of them was disturbing to me.
You said there was additional videos disturbing to see. Is that like different angles that sort of further highlighted what happened, or other things you haven't talked about today?
Well, everything we've talked about in terms of encompasses all those videos, but some videos that the public is not seeing, like, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, one of the videos we've been able to secure from local businesses that no one's ever seen previously. And it showed other angles of this the viral video doesn't show the entire process or everything that happened. We were able to pretty much piece it together. When I talked to Chief Trussell, the work that him and his team did, our investigators, we went out there on our own to look at what happened. They went to the scene. They spoke to other individuals who were there, who saw different things, and also had the opportunity to speak with the victim himself.
I think there was also a report from one of the stations that the man in the plot was like, he got a warrant. Is that true? And does that even matter based on what happened?
Well, I think, one, BPD, and one of the reasons I read BPD's policies, their policy says, look, you have to de-escalate this, and you can't be held against the officer if the person with a warrant runs and leaves. We all know they're going to be found again. We live another day. It wasn't that serious. But my understanding, yes, the gentleman did have a misdemeanor warrant that was out there at that moment in time. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that the officer called him by name. What have been the circumstances of your previous interactions?
I think the officer pretty much from my understanding, that's that officer's neighborhood. He's seen an individual. A lot of times what you see with officers, they interact, they know individuals from the community. And so from what we've seen, you know, what we have only pretty much looked at and focused on is what that officer did in this particular incident.
I've talked to the victim, and he's wondering why the body cam or the dash footage hasn't been released. Do you have an update on that?
Well, one of the things that we do is we're totally different. That's Baltimore City Police, that's BPD issue. For us, we focus on what we do. My team went out there, they looked at everything they need to look at, and based on what they looked at, we sat down, we looked at what we thought potentially were the charges. One of the things I think is also very important that I want the community to know is that we're going to treat the police the same way we treat the community. When individuals have tried to have their cars and run toward police officers, we've held them accountable and charged them with these types of charges. I think it's important that everybody understands it doesn't matter if you're police or a civilian, that the law must treat everybody the same. And that's what we make sure we try to do in our office.
So to clarify, you have viewed the body-worn camera footage?
We've viewed everything. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think her question was about dash cam footage. That's the
Yeah.
BPD
I just
that
wanna make sure.
Fenton.
You've all been around a while. Are these the most serious charges against an on-duty officer since the death of Freddie Gray? I can't remember another case where someone faced this much time for an on-duty incident.
Didn't we charge the one officer with attempt murder with the gun? At the bar?
Vehicular manslaughter. We can come back to that one.
Yeah. So,
I'll circle back.
see, we've been so busy.
Anything else?
I have a off-topic for a colleague. Are you working with BPD on the raids that happened earlier this morning in the North area?
At this moment in time, I don't have any comment on that. I think at the appropriate time we'll go ahead